everyone, quick video tonight on some alternatives to Grizzly wings on your intruders. In the modern COVID era, a lot of people aren't as flush with the cash as they once were, and Grizzly's expensive. So if you can't afford, one of the traditional Grizzly saddles, here's some other alternatives to use to still make awesome flies, but it's a lot easier to get a wider color scope this way, and it's just easier on the wallet. There's a lot of like stuff to spend your money on, like food and gas and stuff like that. So at any rate, there's other alternatives you can use to Grizzly on your intruder wings that look just as good and are equally as effective. I mean, not that Grizzly is be all end all or whatever, but the Grizzly does make flies look a certain way, and that's the attraction. But there's a lot of other stuff you can use. So I got an Intruder. If I could speak, that'd be awesome. I have an Intruder tied up, all done except for the wing. And for the Intruder, the rest of the part, we've got a lot of other videos and stuff. First of all, you can use non-Grizzly. This is just a strung saddle pack. They're like $8. And this is Chinese strung saddle. Just standard stuff, we've used in a million other flies for a long time. And you can sift through those packs and get some decent feathers out of them. Typically the stems are thicker, and the hackle itself isn't quite as densely packed of fibers per inch, but that's fine. But you do need to prep them a little bit, since the stems are thicker. They will want to kind of ping up, like if you tied it as is, it's just going to ping up at like 90 degrees. And well, I actually don't think for 1 second that would affect its fishing. Just to have a nice looking fly. I mean, if you spend all this time, you want it to kind of look the part. So this is how you make it into that kind of more teardrop shape. So we just got this. This one's kind of a thick stem, pretty average feather. Gonna measure it out. Get your distance. There's no right or wrong here. Strip off the fibers. So we got quite a bit of stem showing here. And I'm gonna. So how I do it, you can do it a lot of different ways, but how I do it, we're gonna curve this feather. We're gonna curve the bullet. I like to take these two fingers and pinch the top of the feather like that. I'm going to go straight up and down and use my thumbnail to run down the base of the stem. And if you do this a few times, we'll start getting a curve. I use my two top fingers to make sure the feather doesn't roll. What I don't want is to create this curve that's off, that's not, straight up and down. So my two fingers act as kind of a guide to keep the stem straight up and down. So you can see now we've kind of developed this curvature in the feather, and so when we lay it in, it's going to slope across the back of the body. And part of the Intruder look, I don't know if I've even ever explained it in one of the videos, but when we tie in the wings, to kind of keep this excuse me, to keep this tight against the eyes, instead of having a large thread gap between our last material and the eyes. One of the, I don't know, secrets or whatever, not really a secret, but when we tie the wing in front of the eye, and that keeps all this material butted up right to these barbell eyes. And that's just one of the ways aesthetically that you can get the head of the fly looking nice and tight and compact. And that's another thing I get asked a lot, is how how do you finish these to get them really tight and kind of neat up top, and just tie the hackles, or any of the wings for that matter, in front of the barbells. So if we tie these both in, I pre-did one, you can see there that actually makes a pretty awesome wing. So it doesn't have to be Grizzly. One thing you can also do, and I'll do this on a later video, but they've got some glow-in-the-dark UV, and I did it on another video a long time ago, but they've got glow-in-the-dark UV products, or just different colors or whatever, and you can actually dot these feathers with UV as long as it's a good strong UV. Some of the UVs don't hold up well to flexibility. The Pro, if you find a way to dye the Pro, Loon makes some powders and stuff that you can mix, and Pro might be coming out with something, some colors and stuff soon. But the Pro, the only reason I say the Pro is because it's really insanely sticky durable on feathers. So anything that's going to be flexible and move, it doesn't just pop off in one solid piece. But anyway, so here's a wing you can do. You always want to reverse wrap these because we're not putting on very many wraps. So if we were to finish this fly right now, and not screwed up like I just did, you know, look like that. Honestly, if you're talking about a feather wing, I don't think the solid colors, I don't really believe that you're lacking anything. I think this looks awesome, and I wouldn't consider this, you know, even a substitute for that matter. I think these are really cool. So using strung saddle can save you a bunch of money, and then you can also buy them in multitudes of colors, so you can do blue, black, whatever you want, and then just have more of a color range. Second is going to be Peacock Rump. So these are Peacock Rump feathers off of the rump of a peacock. And you can buy them strung. I've had these skins for a long, long time. Back when you could get dyed skins. I don't think you can anymore. And they just last, you know, the skins last forever. But at any rate, so but they dye them in all different kinds of colors. The key here, these are really thick stems, and you want to take your thumb and forefinger and smash them flat. And then you can tie these in as a wing, and these make awesome wings. You can tent them, you can lay them flat like a shellback, like a shrimp style. But if you tent them for more of a traditional intruder, which here I'm going to do them both together, that might help. If you don't flatten them, they'll want to roll on you really bad. And I will say that the pheasant looks really good. These guys are going to be you're probably your most problematic feather as far as positioning and getting it just right. These are tough feathers to work with, and you're going to undo a lot and retie a lot just to get them just right if you're even half as anal as I am. But the finished product is really cool, and like this I don't even really like that much. So the good thing about these feathers is the stems are pretty darn tough. So yeah, it's okay, whatever. But at any rate, so if we were to tie these dudes off, and this isn't even like the best wing, but there you have it. So that's what that looks like. So again, really cool wing. I love the variegation and the color. You know, this doesn't take away at all. Like it's just as viable as Grizzly. I've got a buddy who I really respect as a fly attire that used pheasant almost exclusively in his flies for quite a while, and they're just awesome, badass flies. So that's another option. The last option is just straight up ostrich. You can run a ton of different colors of straight colors. You know, you could do orange or whatever, but this one, just to give you a little more option if you want that Grizzly type variegation, this is just white ostrich that I sharpied with a pink Sharpie, or pink and orange. I did like a two-tone. So this is now like a three-tone ostrich. And as long as it's a different color than your hackle, ostrich hackle, you know, it really stands out. It makes a nice looking fly. And on all the Jerry's commercial patterns, they use ostrich instead of Grizzly. And nobody even notices, you know, nobody even bats an eye. Nobody has said yet, like, hey, that's not Grizzly, it's not an Intruder. The easiest way to do this is to reverse wrap it. So I'll get my sizing, I'll clip it, and I'll tie it in front ways. And then wrap it back. Lick my finger just to get these dudes, these little fluffers. Gosh dang, I'm not. Okay. So there you go. So that creates, when you tie it back over itself, it kind of creates a little bit more rounded profile here instead of being up. This way you can kind of see the slope, right? And it's all about, you know, it's all about what catches your eye in your box, and it's all about what you have confidence in, right? And so these little things for me are what makes me pick it out of my box, you know. So I've got flies that, you know, I liked when I tied them, I threw them in the box, and I just, for whatever reason, fell out of love, and now I'm like, why are you even taking room here? So you can see lots of movement there. So that's just a couple different ways you can skirt around the Grizzly and save quite a bit of money. You know, like I say, things are tight and still really create some, you know, super high-end, nice flies. The one last thing is the finished raccoon. So this stuff's like $5 a pack. It's got awesome flow, awesome movement. You can see, like my fly, the Sputnik has it. I just love the way it's like a hair marabou, right? But it's insanely durable. So this stuff here, I'll use red or whatever here, but again, you want to reverse tie this. Bring it back over itself. Make a couple wraps. Finish it off. You can use your thumb and forefinger to kind of spread it around, like get it kind of packed down around those barbell eyes. And you can see there's another good wing option. This wing, keep in mind, is going to be, it's easy to take over the whole fly, and so all this body work and stuff you've done, the finished raccoon has a tendency, people have a tendency to over tie it in and tie in too much, and it kind of overtakes everything else you've done, and it overtakes the whole movement and flow. So on this style of fly, this would not be my first choice. The finished raccoon on this style of fly would not be my first choice. If I'm dealing with more of a traditional barbell-eyed intruder like this, I would pick either the ostrich, the pheasant, or the Chinese strung saddle over the fin. If I was doing like a hidden bead or a hidden cone with some marabou like the Sputnik, then that's when I like the fin, because it just kind of goes in, it just seems to flow better and just have a better kind of overall appearance. But you know, at any rate, there's a million other things you could do. I mean, hell, you could even, if you wanted to, I mean, I'm just like literally just glancing over. I mean, get creative, you know, but just glancing over, I've got predator wrap, right? So you could even tie in predator wrap, you know. I mean, there's nothing saying you can't use that as a wing. I mean, that'd look pretty awesome. So anyway, get creative, you know. It doesn't have to be dyed Grizzly. That's just the whole point. Is just look around your table, look around your bench, and just try something, right? You know, you can always take it off. Like, don't cut the thread and tie it up. You can always undo it if you don't like it. But there's a lot of stuff out there that you can substitute for dyed Grizzly and save some coin. And because, like I say, things are tight for a lot of people right now, and that shouldn't be a reason to get frustrated or be bummed out. It's just an opportunity to look for new ways to be creative, you know. And so this fly in particular is actually pretty expensive. I didn't go crazy, you know. This fly is easily obtainable materials. Ostrich is, you know, fairly inexpensive. I mean, for a feather, they're like, you know, anywhere from $3 to $5 a feather. But the $5 feathers, you get a ton, you know, just big, you know, huge feathers. The ones that we dye are like giant. MFC will give you 2 plumes for like $8, and they have got really good quality, so that's not too bad. Underneath we got some Arctic Fox, and you know, it's $15 for like half a tail, which you could even split with a buddy, because half a tail is just an insane amount of hair. But that's the best quality we've been able to find, is these half tails. The little medallions are okay, but they don't have these nice tips and stuff for spinning and all that. So by getting, we actually get them in full tails and then break them in half to make them more affordable. They're $15, but the quality of hair is just the best, the absolute best, and so that's kind of how you have to buy it. This is actually dyed Grizzly in the body, but this is literally left over. So this stuff, if you have some dyed Grizzly or Grizzly, this and here is the leftover from a wing on a previous fly, so we get to use the whole feather that way. This is just Mylar Tinsel. This stuff is the Vivus holographic. There's like $1.50, $2, you know, for a huge spool of it, so that's not bad. This is a composite loop here with some fusion dub, some polar flash, just, you know, synthetic stuff. I think there's some, I don't think I used any Predator wrap in this one, actually. I think this is just polar, oh, I used a little bit of Arctic Fox in that composite loop too. More ostrich, and then this, the collar is silver pheasant, and that's silver pheasant. That stuff's not the cheapest. It's like $8 a pack. You get a lot of feathers, but it's really hard to find right now. I probably shouldn't have used it, but I just had it kind of in my face. I just kind of threw this together this morning. But at any rate, so, you know, this fly here is actually not too bad. You could do a multitude of colors fairly inexpensively of just this basic pattern, and then to make it even easier on the budget, you could just use ostrich for the wing on these and really get the most out of, you know, you can stretch the dollar the furthest by tying just the simple basic intruders. And dirty hose, that's another one to look at too, that's actually pretty cost effective, you know, minus the jungle cock in the back, but they got great fake jungle cock. You don't need it, you know, it looks cool. But I wanted to show you this as well, as a substitute for the jungle cock. This is, I took just a black hackle stem of a feather I already used, and I UV glued one of the Pro jungle cock eyes onto it, so it's UV glued in the back. So that gives us our length with the real stem, and it moves really good, you know. So on, I don't know if I've got a fly laying around, but if, you know, we just use like this one as an example, instead of, you know, I mean, we can't even get jungle cock right now anyway, so it doesn't really matter of how much you can spend or not, but you can get the length back here. I don't know how well this is going to show up, but you know, to get that length in the rear, so, you know, wouldn't really do it on its own, these Pro ones, because they just weren't quite long enough. But you get, when you glue it to that stem, you get that longer length, and it really cleans it up, and it makes it proportionally correct and look right. But you can do the same thing on the dirty hose and get that jungle cock back further than you can with just the plain nail. So and again, that's just UV glued on there, and it's the Pro UV. So I mean, if you look at this stuff, I know I should probably do a separate video on that Pro UV, but I mean, this is like, for UV, this is like crazy flexibility. I mean, look at this, it's like nuts. You can't, it's not peeling off. I mean, I can wrap it around the vise, and that's a UV glue that wraps around the vise that doesn't like pop off, and that's crazy. So anyway, it's really the best UV out there as far as overall durability. I mean, dude, I'd literally just bent this in half, creased it, here, use my neck as a whiteboard, creased it, and it didn't pop off. That's nuts. So I don't know of any other UV that can handle that. That's pretty wild. So I mean, anyway, thanks for watching. Sorry I went off a little bit, but I hope this helps. And if you guys have any questions out there, just reach out anytime. Thanks. Bye.